Hello everybody and welcome to we're delighted to be able to report to you, the 205th most popular hobby podcast in Finland, even as we speak. Although that may all change with this upcoming episode in which the regular gang get back together to discuss the painting that they've been doing. We dive in depth to a couple of competitions, Brixham on the south coast and Warfare in a very, very chilly Ascot. And of course, we have a look forward to what we're hoping to do in the new year, Omicron allowing. That's the usual caveat. There will be no unofficial Christmas parties that may or may not happen as part of this podcast. So sit back, listen out for badgers, and enjoy this Madaxeman podcast.
This means war.
Folks, is this Christmas? It sort of feels a bit like Christmas because I think we just had an extra layer of lockdown announced, really, and a bit of COVID panic. So that seems to be the traditional way of celebrating Christmas in the UK, with a step up of that. And I guess if everybody's actually starting to be increasingly locked in their own houses, even if it's only through having to waive a vaccine passport, which all wargamers have because we're all sensible, if we want to go to a venue with more than 10,000 people in it, which nobody wants to go to, unless it's football, which is a different podcast entirely. So I guess we are now here to entertain you, or amuse ourselves more like, in the world of the Madaxeman podcast, in a pre-Christmas episode that might be the only pre-Christmas episode, probably. Depends how busy we all are over the next few weeks, or how little we get out. So as we speak, there are 6 of us on screen, and I think there's someone from Bournemouth desperately, furiously trying to log in through different ways and systems and links to try and join us at the moment. But in the usual traditional pattern, we've got almost a running order. We've almost prepared for it, and that preparation says let's just do what we always do and start with who's been painting what. And Mr. Saunders, in your painting bunker, I can see you're literally painting as we speak. And I think the last time we spoke, you've not painted or been shopping for a while. What's prompted it? Where has these new toys come from?
I haven't been painting very much. I've actually Warfare and Selweg. What was it called? We went to
Selweg.
Yeah. So I bought a few toys there and things. And where else was I? There's some other show we went to. Anyway, but I found somebody selling Eureka figures. In fact, Eureka UK. I went to Salute as well.
You went to Salute, the proper big one.
Eureka were there in essence from Australia, or so they were claiming. So I bought all their stock of African cavalry.
Oh wow! Because you've been talking about starting that army for quite some time, haven't you?
So now I've got Eureka light horse, one-piece castings with little weird boomerangs on them or something.
Do the figures look as good as the pictures look? Because on the Eureka site they look really nicely proportioned, humanly proportioned for 15mm, which can sometimes be a bit weird.
Yeah, they're sort of weird. I've got some other ones. I've got these giant sort of cataphract things from Abyssinian cataphracts.
Right, with the bulky padded armour.
Yeah, I've got them here. They're quite weird as well. But I also bought some War and Empire Forged in Battle Blemmy cavalry.
Right.
So
okay.
That's sort of like cataphracty king, Axum or whatever. And then I'm going to go to Damien and Donington and get the infantry, the spearmen. So I'm just going to create a Bisley tray of various African troops, which can be just, morphed into any army. And that's managed to get me away from Franks. So that's been a bit of a relief.
That's good. So have you literally just started doing these guys then again? Or has it been work in progress since Salute?
Up another 3 bases of the Franks.
Oh, right. Okay.
So I'm probably just down to about 1 bag left.
Right. Bag of 100 or something.
Yeah, exactly. So, but now the Africans I've started. I enjoy painting light horse because it's fun doing the basing and things like that. So I think I'm going to try and do some light horse just to get my painting mojo back, so to speak. And
okay. And are you going to use normal paints for those? Because I guess African stuff can be a bit shimmery. It could tempt you into contrast paints.
Oh no, not contrast paints. No. Anything about them. Oh, those newfangled things.
No.
No.
Not be going to that. Okay, then. All right. Well, look, in experimental terms, then, let's just experiment and go round. Now, in fact, a complete experiment into the dark. Peter, you're charging your iPad at the moment, so you're on audio only. So we've got no view of the badger. We've got no visibility over what you may or may not have painted. Have you painted anything? Am I coming to you completely in the dark and leaving immediately?
No, it wasn't quite Dark Ages. It was Feudal Ages. It was dismounts for my knights ready for warfare. Only they didn't end up being used because I managed to happily storm in with my knights anyway. But I had a bit of fun painting them. It was a whole bunch of Donington sort of feudal age men at arms with the kite type shields and that sort of thing. So setting up a load of heavy infantry as dismounts for feudal knights, and I can use them as either chopper guys or spear guys, because medium knights dismount as both options. So you have a few choices with that to make it interesting in case you go up against a load of Scots pikes or something. You can rock up with a couple of armored two-handed choppers, or end up with a whole load of spearmen if you've got the elephants or something.
So the big question though is did you spray any of them gold deliberately or by accident?
I did a little bit of gold highlighting here and there.
That was so big in the Dark Ages, wasn't it? Gold highlighting.
Yeah, no, I actually managed to find this the silver spray, which was very handy. It was the one day that before it started getting cold, so I managed to spray them all silver and then quickly do the sort of highlights and everything else. Do the dark wash to make it stand out, and then it was filling in the gaps. So it was quite handy from that perspective. Got them quickly done and quickly through. It was a bit of a busy period, so I was quite pleased to get them all done.
Okay. Well, I must admit, in terms of spraying, I've been thinking about spraying, but there's been a theme about a thread about spraying outdoors on the club forum, hasn't there? Which inevitably means that we do go to Tamsin for expertise. Because I've actually been thinking about spraying some stuff, which I'll talk about in a minute. But Tamsin, what have you been painting, or how bloody much have you been painting? And what's this mysterious secret of managing to do outside spraying when it's too cold or wet, or is it cold or wet? Is that the starting point?
It's both. I'll start with that before doing share screen.
Okay.
Cold weather and humid weather can affect any spraying. Because moisture gets absorbed into the
paint as it comes out of
paint layer, and you get flecking, fogging. With varnishes, you get fogging and so on. So the trick is, if you're in cold weather,
which we are,
warm the spray can. Either put it by a radiator or into a bucket of fairly hot water, warm to hot water.
In a bag, yes.
Don't put a can directly on the radiator because it could explode.
Microwave?
Not a good idea.
Not a good idea. I know it's Christmas Day, but I have seen that in Home Alone, but we're not doing it in this podcast. It's like, Kevin.
Also, make sure that the figures are warm.
That's the bit I was surprised at, because I've thought the keep the can warm thing, but I guess I've not really thought of warming the figures more than room temperature.
Yeah, if you've got the figures, because you want to avoid the warmer the figures are, the less moisture is going to get into the paint or varnish layer.
Okay.
So get both the can and the figures warm. Go outside, get the spraying done as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Get back in as quickly as possible. Get the figures warm. Keep the figures warm.
Right.
And
okay.
If you see any fogging appearing, if varnish, hairdryer.
Okay. Well, looking around the screen, then I think there's probably you and Peter are going to own a hairdryer out of the six of us so far. The rest of us are going to struggle. We're going to have to either steal one or find one or borrow one. There's not much call for it. But then again, if we've all ended up buying nail polish shakers and things like that over the last 2 years, possibly this could be the next wave of.
But does the type of hairdryer matter? And do you need a diffuser on the end?
Is it a bedside hairdryer? If we go all Victrix.
Well, personally, I very rarely I use spray varnishes in the winter anyway, so I couldn't really advise on that.
Right. Okay, that's the correct answer. That's definitely the correct answer.
You might need to go to people that do. So I mostly varnish using airbrush. So
okay. So I guess that's the only tricky bit is if part of this plan involves warming the can, warming the figures, taking them outside, spraying them quickly, then bringing them back in. That means they still will smell when you bring them inside, which defeats the main purpose of spraying outside in a way. But at least it doesn't mean you get drift onto your walls of Dunkelgelb and sort of vague Dunkelgelb stains on your walls.
You do the old, open up a box, lay it on its side, stick the figures in there, and give it a spray around in there, and close up the box again.
Close up the box. Okay, all right. Possibly.
Yeah, that's not going to deal with the smell though, because when you open the box up.
Yeah, but you don't get the spray everywhere.
Half the fun is that beautiful smell of acetone that goes through the flat. It's like,
yes,
pink elephants.
Yes, indeed. Do you tend to do this when your missus is away then, Simon?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. And it still remains. But
This means war.
okay, so Tamsin, you've been painting.
Oh no!
Oh wow! What?
Look
these
at
are
them.
Koreans. Are these the Koreans?
When we last did the recording, I was partway through painting a load of additions to my Joseon Korean and Ming Chinese.
Yeah.
So that's a picture of them all together.
Now these Kurasan figures, or are they Old Glory?
Old Glory 15s.
Old Glory 15s, brilliant. Okay, yeah, nice little things.
So
I recognise those.
Yeah. No, they're grand. They're very different to Chinese, aren't they?
Some heavy spearmen.
Yeah.
Some levy.
In their pajamas. That's good.
Yeah. Ming Chinese levy.
Okay. Yeah, they look like
and light cavalry, which I did for the Koreans, because I started off doing this army back in Fog AM, Fog R days.
Okay.
And you could have up to three bits of I think it was military schools light horse.
Right. Okay.
And I'd only done one battle group, and so I decided to do another two.
Yeah. Well, you might as well, just in case you play Fog R again. Yeah. That's definitely
Since then, I've mostly been doing figure prep.
Hmm.
Well, actually, I've just been doing figure prep and priming. So that's everything that I've done in preps.
Well, so what scale are these? Because I can't, I imagine you've got a desk the size of, an aircraft carrier. Are these 15s, 20?
That's 8 A4 boards.
Okay.
To get exact scale.
Yeah.
You guys. So I got some 15mm Romans. If you think back to when I did the Romans and ancient Germans for
Infamy, wasn't it?
Infamy. I'd done them, spaced them so that they could morph into with some additions to ADLG. So got some additions for that. So Romans.
Why are you undercoating red?
Yeah, I did for these.
Romans.
Don't give Peter ideas. It's we don't want to
usurp
the religion of gold.
And for Germans.
So they look like they're undercoated in sort of brown.
It's a red brown.
Red brown. Okay.
I think it's German red brown. Is the flavor.
Okay.
Color. Some additions. So on the sticks, you got some Mongol cavalry and some Georgian Armenian heavy cavalry.
So you're doing like 4 armies at once. Just
Oh yeah, I've got loads of stuff prepared. So I've got some individual sort of Roman legionaries and auxiliaries to be level 1 leaders for infamy. I hadn't done that.
Is this your sort of plan B lockdown plan of prep loads of stuff or not going anywhere for a bit?
Well, I was going to come on to that on plans. Because I've got the Analog Hobbies Painting Challenge.
Oh, right. That starts in January, does it?
Part this year rather than just being sort of a minion.
Okay.
So I'm getting a lot of stuff prepped ready for that.
Does that start on January the 1st, is it? Or 2 weeks. It starts before Christmas.
Yeah, it starts just before Christmas.
Okay, all right. So we'll have to find a website for people to join that. Won't we?
There, through at the front there, where you can see Can you see my?
They're bigger guys, aren't they?
Those are Bad Squiddo games. It was
Oh yeah, I know that.
Feline Merchants.
Okay, cats.
Yeah, fancy feline merchants. Yeah,
Fancy cat traders. Yeah.
Yeah. Some Papuan bearers as a sort of a big net piece for eyes, and some barbarian artillery crew.
Yeah, because barbarians need artillery.
I'm not sure if did the barbarians during one of the lockdowns or no.
It must be a while ago because I don't remember them.
I think it was before the lockdown.
Yeah, I don't remember them.
The lockdowns. Because I did quite a large barbarian army for Dragon Rampant.
Yeah. Okay. Or Dragon, as it's known. Yeah.
Yeah. This is one thing that I didn't have, so I decided to buy them.
Okay. All right. So that's pretty eclectic. There's some finishing. Yeah. There's some start. Oh no, there's more.
That was all 28.
Is this another Second World War thing? The 28.
Yes, Japanese, World War II Japanese.
Okay. To go hunting paratroops.
So got about a platoon there plus some support options. I need to add a few more figures for that.
So what's your base color going to be for Japanese uniform? That's the $1 million question.
I'm going to go with the more green uniform. So it'll probably be an olive green highlighting up through golden olive.
Okay, olive green. So not going for a textbook Japanese uniform paint called Japanese uniform paint.
No, that's more sort of very pre-war sort of the Sino-Japanese war.
Okay, all right. It just got a bit more green by the time they were fighting the Americans.
In the Pacific, yeah.
Okay,
it's more green.
All right. That looks like quite a good set to do.
70 odd figures there. Can't remember. No, it's probably a bit more like 80 figures there.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of support options. There's a lot of a lot more. Excuse me, officer types. So the excess officers will probably get used for jump off points.
Yeah.
And last bit, some dogs and Eureka Maximilian 1934 car. That's a project. It's going to be a gift for a friend.
Okay, it looks a bit chitty bang bang, and I mean that in a good way. Yeah. Okay. All right. That's pretty eclectic. That's a fair old mix. Let's have a look at who else. Andy, in your world of pots and pans, and bearing in mind we can only see you from the nose upwards, and you're doing your Chad impression, you can put your hands on the screen and do kind of the Chad. Oh, there he is. Oh my God.
That worse? Yeah.
Wow, that's a yep. Now we can see you.
Ugly as ever. Yeah, no change there. Right.
You've not quite gone full Christmas yet. Then we're not done that.
No.
Okay. All right. So what's been on your paint table then, Andy? As
well, I think the last time we did a podcast, I just about finished the 25mm Welsh allies for the feudal English army, which I got from Andy Copstake at Old Glory.
Yeah.
And then since then I've actually painted 5 units of Ottomans, the ones including the City Rabble, which were museum. So that's about 70 figures. So they're all painted and based, and thanks to Simon, I've got flags for them. So that's a project actually done. So that's my Renaissance Ottoman army done,
and that's for ADLGR, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And now what I'm doing is I'm actually rebasing those poles which I bought from you from Clive's estate.
Yeah.
And because they're basically on 40 by 20, I think they're probably based for FOG-R. So I need to base them for ADLGR and put them on 80mm bases. And I've discovered what I think is a neat little way of rebasing, which saving a lot of time. So rather than soak the figures off and just completely rebase them, I've actually got the 40 by 20 base, and with a Stanley knife trimmed it to a very thin bit. So I'm just left with, if you like, the topsoil.
Yeah.
For each base, so it doesn't sit too proud. And then I can cut up the musketeer bases without too much difficulty to, split them out a bit. And then I just stick them onto a 40 by 80 base, and they're already flocked. So I've already done 2 units this evening while we're talking. So okay. I think that's a handy little way of finding out.
Super speedy. Just shave the base bit off the base. Yeah, no, I think I've done that with some things, not so much with MDF, but with old cardboard bases. I've found that quite easy to do.
Yeah, I mean, these ones, the basing and flocking is quite nice, so I didn't really want to reinvent that wheel. So
that's a spot of luck then. Good.
Yeah. All right. So that's all done. And the other things I bought a few things at Warfare recently. And
right, what did you buy? What did you manage to get tempted by?
I bought the War and Empire early Achaemenid generals, including they've got this chariot with a guy in it as well. And again, because of the army I bought.
Of Clive's.
Of Clive's. I just needed some commanders for that. And you also sold me the war wagon thing, which I haven't even looked at yet.
No, basically that's a Magister Militum thing that looks impossible to assemble.
I suspect it probably will be, but
something that you use to investigate telegraph poles and overhead power lines or something.
Yeah, or sort of a sort of pre-engined fire truck or something. But anyway, so I'm going to put all that stuff together because with the armies I've got from Clive, I've basically got most of the troops I need. It's just putting commanders and one or two little bits to them, and then my plan is over Christmas to finish that and to do the Polish commanders. I bought them from Essex, and so they're arriving shortly with a few units of 7 Years' War Prussians to finish off the other one. So it's basically buying bits to finish off the armies I bought from Clive, from Clive's estate, and with a bit of luck, 2 more of those armies will be done by about the end of the Christmas break.
Wow, so super basing turbo then. All right.
This means war.
But it sounds like
Well,
it sounds like a lot of that is for ADLGR. So that means we obviously inevitably have to come to Simon, and you're in an offshore bunker at the moment or something like that. But there seems to be a lot of ADLGR action going on down at the club. Is it getting close? Have you been painting furiously to cook up new armies for it?
I'm at the point, scaringly enough, I can't think of a new army to paint up for ADLGR because I may have
write some more lists. That's normally the way, isn't it?
Yeah, I was thinking that, but I'm waiting for some of the
well, you could just split one of the existing lists into 4. Have a separate list for every battle or something.
Yeah, I could do the 30 Years' War German by year. That might work.
Yeah,
that
could work. Yeah, 29 more lists, easy. Then you could say you've got over 1,000 lists. It'd be a great marketing tool.
You can get someone else to proofread that lot, mate.
Yeah.
61 pages of army lists.
There's enough, definitely. Yep.
No, we've been having some cracking games with Renaissance. Things have been going quite well. We made a couple of minor tweaks to make Caracol, the War's Religion horse formation, less crap. It's probably the best way of saying it. It was always a bad troop type anyway.
Yeah,
we've just made it just a little less crap, and actually it worked really well. So it still will get trampled by real mounted, good cuirassier, but at least in period it works. So a couple of last little tweaks, and just trying to see if I can word up how to enable people to use a FOGR based army.
Because we came up with that in a curry house, didn't we? In between warfare, I think
that was one of the wargaming workshops. It was strategy.
It was an off-site workshop with cheese and wine and poppadoms. It wasn't a party. No, we were allowed to do it at the time because it was only
social distancing was met.
It was indeed after a trip to an Italian pub with a Spaniard. Okay.
Yeah. So I think when you sort of distill down what you want to do, it becomes relatively straightforward. It's just change a couple of base sizes and Bob's your auntie. So I'm just trying to think if I need to add anything more or to the rules. Or
so basically this is basically playing with FOGR sized 3 wide 15mm troops on a 6x4, but treating a block of 6 Python shot as a single ADLGR unit then.
Yeah. So it allows you to play ADLG on a standard 6 foot by 4 foot table using a normal Fogar army. So, 6 wide pike and shot and all that. And you just change the standard UD dimension from 40 UD to 60 UD, because that's what we do for 25 mil.
Yeah.
And the game scales up basically straight away. It's like, well, that was easy, didn't so the mounted are a little bit more, you might have to make a couple of sabo bases just to tweak those.
Yeah.
But
there's not hundreds of mounted in ADLGR, is there? There's not
you're talking 9 bases maybe, so
tops.
You might have to make 9 sabos. So it's not.
Well, they're what, 60 by 40?
60 by 60.
60 by 60. Oh, right. So you just stick. Yeah, you've got those anyway.
Just the one you do square. Bosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you're a nerd enough, you can rebase a few. If not, just make a couple of sabos and bob's your own.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to try and have a couple of games of that over Christmas. I'm not sure where. Maybe on Tabletop Simulator, based on today's news.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. Yeah.
So but from a
Boris will give you a game.
Sorry,
Boris will give you a game.
Yeah,
but he won't admit it afterwards, though, will he? So that's probably part of the problem.
But on a more positive side, painting. Haven't done a substantive amount. I did paint up a bunch more 25 mil medieval guys who got to have their first inaugural run at Warfare.
Ah, yes. Yeah,
because I brought to the 25 mil ADLG. I brought my English hooligans on tour, aka Free Company. So we had the Drunken Brigands, who were my new medium swordsmen, just medium swordsmen, nothing else. So they were the Drunken Hooligans. And then as a war gamer, you realise I've got a box of Perry 25 mil plastic knights. What can I do?
We've all got a box of Perry 25 mil plastic knights. In fact, Adam, you've joined us now. I'll come to you next, because then we can talk about Perry plastic 25 mil knights.
Oh yeah, but so I finished painting up all the knights and the medium swordsmen, and these spare knights became my dismounted impetuous knights, which worked quite well, because in the 25 mil competition, there were some very scary Swiss armies running around with an impetuous command of with an ordinary general included versus elite Swiss. It wasn't going to go well. So everybody dismount.
Get off that horse, definitely. Oh, good.
Look, I can control them. So,
did you do any shopping at Warfare or Salute or anywhere like that, or is Warfare your only show? Shopping show?
Warfare was my only show. I couldn't get to Salute. I was away that weekend. Other than some paints, I couldn't actually find anything I wanted to buy. Though, Adam, you will be very happy. I did go and have a good hard look at the Vitrix bags of 25 mil Romans and all that stuff, and it's like, I don't need them. Right, so I need 2 bags of those, 1 bag of those, and I get another bag of those, and that gives me my Roman army, my warband command, and all. So
it's all good for you.
Yeah, having seen how well your Dacians and just your keenness on those troops have come up, and to look to those bags, went, they're a good price point, like 30 quid for 60 figures, and they're really, really good quality. I was like, ooh.
I'd say you can get my Dacians are basically a 25 mil army for the price of a 15 mil.
Yeah.
And a successful one as well.
Yeah, they stomped along. So I could see some of those coming around for Christmas, because they are flat and useful.
Okay. Oh, well, it's good if it's Christmas, isn't it? That's the thing. If it's not you buying it, it's Santa, isn't it? That's the thing you've got to remember. It's always Santa buying it for yourself. So Adam, what about you? Because you ended up missing Warfare because you had we had too much fun in Brixham and you weren't allowed out, is the gist of it, I think, if we're honest.
My kids in for a week in Brixham. First thing I want to check, because Safari's told Zoom to write off, is my audio okay here?
Yeah, your audio's absolutely
we can
fine.
Hear you, yeah.
And it's really good. It's really dark, so we almost can't see you at all, which is the perfect combination.
So yeah, because I'm on my phone. So sorry, what was the question?
Have you painted anything lately, or
No, I haven't. I keep looking at it, thinking I've got to get. Do you know? I got out of the habit in the summer.
Yeah,
because I was too busy, and I just haven't got into the habit. I know once I sit down the first time and start the process, I'll get back into the habit again. But that hasn't happened, and I really need to, because I need some troops to play. Because the Dacians I've really enjoyed playing, but I've played with them for quite a few competitions now, and it gets a bit boring, and so I might jog out the Romans next.
Yeah. Have you got all of the Romans, or have you worked out there's more stuff you should have?
No, I've got all the Romans. I was going to get some bowmen as well, just to round it out, because Victorians have done a bag of early Imperial Roman bows. But
I might have some for you actually, because Jeff gave me some that are excess to the ones that I need. But I said yes anyway, because that's the life it is. So I might have 2 bases of neatly painted Roman bowmen if you want.
That's exactly what I want.
There we go.
Exactly what I need.
Well, thank you. I know Jeff listens to this, so I'm sure he'll be delighted that his stuff is actually going to someone who really wants it, which will be a win.
You got the pusher, man. But my problem is, they're the same era. You know what I mean? They're that sort of like classical era. So I need something medieval. So I need to get back on with painting up me lovely Frenchies again. So that's a habit. And I've just realised something as well, because I didn't go to Warfare. I haven't been to a show in a long time. I haven't even been down to Entoyment, and Christmas is coming up. So I might have to pay a visit to
Santa.
And Santa accidentally buys me some stuff.
Yes.
And I don't particularly need anything, so I've got stuff that I need to paint. But that might happen. And what I've also done actually is I spent some time.
I suppose the advantage is that you've got 2 kids, so each of them can buy you something, and wrap it up for you very neatly, I'm sure.
No, each of them can get their own 15mm army.
Yeah.
My problem there,
and then thrash you.
Yeah.
My problem there, though, with the kids buying it is they're actually buying me a load of cricket stuff.
Oh,
so
okay. And you do actually want that?
Santa.
Fine, just from Santa. Good.
Although the other thing that I have done is I've been spending some time about, right, you're 50 now, mate. Okay, you're a young 50 and you look good with it, but you are 50. And life is finite. So all these fantasies you have about different wargaming stuff you're going to have to do, sort it out. What are you going to spend your time doing? So I've been spending the time, I've been doing my maps, thinking, right, these different periods I want to do. What do I want to do with these periods? And trying to rationalise and go, right, this is what I'm going to do. So I've been trying to bring order to my hobby, because like most people that play with toy soldiers, the hobby is at least 90% fantasizing about the hobby. What periods you would do, what armies would you do. You spend more time doing than actually sort of like playing the game. So I'm trying to figure out what it is I want to be doing with the hobby.
Okay. Yeah. So what have you started to work that out, or is it still kind of that's the fun you're going to save it for? We'll do a special on what Adam's going to do for the next 30 years later on.
30, that's optimistic, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think. Okay. Well, it's like, firstly, and it was a text that I sent out a little while ago. I've got loads of cowboys and stuff, so buy a cowboy town so I can have games of cowboys. I call them. Start playing Manifo again.
Yes.
Oh God, yes. Fantastic game. It really is a fantastic game, and I've got all the toys I need and some stuff that's still being painted. And I've decided I want to go into 10mm. My Russians, I've got to do some Germans for them, and then I want to do some Cold War 10mm, because T62s.
Yeah.
And what was the other thing? Oh, see, it's already getting out of hand. I'm trying to.
It's already disappearing. Yeah, there's more than you can remember, which is correct. Maybe that's a sign of getting old. So the older you get, the less you can remember. So you'll be satisfied that you've done them all. It's a win.
Yeah. Hopefully, it's an absolute win. Where I think I've done them all. I can't remember anymore.
I think for the cowboy town, it's worth taking a look at TC Combat at the moment, because they're doing a load of their white box bundles.
Okay, TC Combat, white
Western stuff in that, and it's a bundle of kits. Quite a significant saving over buying them individually. So.
Okay, I'll have a look at that. Oh, I've remembered the other thing that I want to do before I die. Toy soldier wise, this isn't.
No, we don't want to go there. No, exactly. Yeah.
Excuse me, I'm eating orange at the same time. Ever since reading the war game,
not that Michael Hutchins thing. You're not practicing, are you now? No. Okay.
Ever since being a kid and reading Brigadier Peter Young Charge in the war game, I was thinking, I want to make up my own armies. So I'm thinking, I do want to do an imagination or a couple of imaginations where I can sort of like to have a simple set of rules playing Napoleonic or 18th century with troops that I've just signed their uniforms myself, and I can name them myself, and that's the other thing that I might do.
King of the Battlefield. Great set of rules for 18th century.
Quite
making
possibly.
that sort of stuff up. Okay, good. All right. Well, from the imaginary to the the extremely straightforward and mundane, really, is I guess what have I been doing? I've been doing a bit of kind of rebasing. There's a couple of bits of Clive's troops that I've been rebasing and doing odds and sods to do, but I've still been a bit stuck in a not painting rut, other than finishing off those couple of bases of dismounted companions and sort of elite spear that I think, Dave, you must have handed off to me in a car park or something sometime in the middle of the year when we're only allowed to go walking and meet each other or something, which came out really well. Zeiston 15 mil I think they're Theban generals, but I stuck them all on a base and based them up as dismounted companions, because companions can now dismount a spear, and then you can use them as like the Theban elite people in a Greek army that I'll possibly never put on table either. So that was kind of a double whammy. And then at Warfare, because did I buy anything at Selwig? I think I bought a couple of bits like paints and things. I bought some chain of command dice at Selwig, but at Warfare I was supposed to find Red 3, who do these really nice 10 mil tanks and things, but because of the way the venue was laid out and the way the competitions are on and doing the scoring and some of the other stuff that went on, I just didn't manage to get round. I was even supposed to be talking to some of the traders about BritCon next year in moving to Nottingham, but I barely got round any of them at all. But so I remembered when I saw something from Red 3 on Facebook about a new figure they'd come out with about a week ago. So I quickly banged in an order, and Steve quickly banged me out some of these figures. So I've got about half a dozen half tracks, M3 half tracks, Second World War stuff for the Brits. I've got a couple of German engineer half tracks, and then I've got a American anti-aircraft half track as well. But they're just so bloody clever for 10 mil stuff. There's just, I'm sure I banged on about this before, but there's just enough detail to show what they are, and and a little bit more. So they look exactly fine, but there's none of the extra fiddly complicated bits that you have to glue on or stick on as separates or get miscast. And they're such clean castings, and they're so well designed. And like this little M3 half track, the half track and the wheels and the tracks is a one-piece casting. And then into the back, you drop two little sort of strips of 3 infantry. And I'm guessing that the American one has slightly different looking helmets on them, because these are Brits and they've got kind of the flat, those flat sort of soup bowl helmets with stuff with bits of leaves and things on them. And the same is true for the cupola with the 50 cal, which I think some of the other ones, you end up gluing that on, then the gun goes on, and then the gun falls off, because the gun always falls off if you're putting a 50 cal on a 10 mil tank, because that's where you pick the damn thing up. And this one, the cupola and the gunner and the gun and sort of this plug that goes into the half track is all just one piece, and it just slots in, and you're like, I don't know, it's that thing when you think there's industrial design thinking gone into how to put this together. Someone's not gone, how do I make a model kit? They've gone, I'm going to make this just simple enough to fit together in a way that makes it robust. Yeah.
I wasn't really listening until you started going on about great they were. What company was it?
Red 3. It's a bloke called Steve from Red 3. I think I first saw them at Plymouth, which must have been pre-COVID last year, and bought some of their stuff. He's doing a lot more modern stuff at the moment, but he's got a little range of the basic stuff from World War II, and it's just really nicely cast. So all my German half tracks were that I did in last summer were all Red 3 as well. They just take
Steve into Google, it will take me there then, yeah.
Red 3.
RED3. I found them on the internet, very easy to find.
Yeah, super easy. So that's really nice. But I was toying with the idea of rushing out today and doing some priming of that, and then I've got an elephant that's got padding on it for being an armored elephant. I've got a few what else have I got? I've got a few Indian infantry that need doing to do the clubman for a Indian ally and stuff like that. So I've got some sort of bits and bobs, but I've still not taken but I still kind of want to start doing the Black Seas fleet, because I've got 3 other Ancients armies to do that I've already bought. But I just want to get the Black Seas thing. But these little half tracks, I bought them, or I forgot to buy them, then I did buy them, then they're here, and I'm just sat here kind of dribbling over them. Even the little German engineer one.
Tim, you basically got sidetracked on a total tangent to.
I got sidetracked by half tracks. I got sidetracked by half tracks. That was the answer. Yes, indeed.
Half track by half tracks.
Half track, sidetrack. So yeah, I think that's about as good a point to close this painting session as anywhere, really, isn't it? On a pun like that. So we shall move on.
This means war.
Fine, so that's the painting session done, and we've actually been packing in the gaming, quite a few of us, both at the club and in competitions since we last spoke, with competitions down in deepest, darkest, or sunniest actually, Devon in Brixham, but then much more recently in Warfare. This time is in Ascot, last time was in Reading, and next time is going to be in Farnborough, which I think Ascot was fine. But I think Farnborough will, as a venue, probably be better, because the Ascot was fine, but I think would have been irritating to go back to, quite possibly. But so nearly all of us took part in either one or both of those events, and it's been a thing. But I think before we really talk about either, we do have to just kind of raise a glass or raise a can or have a quick thought for Mark Dudman, who was playing in the Warfare ADLG competition when tragically he suffered a stroke during the event. Now the people at the venue at Ascot were fantastic. The war team from Warfare were great as well. Everybody reacted really, really well. All the players just cleared out and made space and left it well alone to deal with it. And then he was taken to a local hospital where the guys, his club mates from Solent, tell us that he got the best possible care, but sadly he passed away sometime during the week after Warfare, which was kind of a shock to all of us. It really brings home, I guess sometimes this is a hobby and sometimes there's more important things than hobby, and it sounds a little trite to say that he was doing the thing he loved, but it does give us all a thought as to the aging of the hobby and what can happen. But so I think we should all quickly raise a glass to Mark, a really nice guy who was part of the scene and certainly part of the scene on the internet and the West Coast. So cheers, Mark. This is for you. Having said that, I don't know if we start with Brixham, which was back at the couple of weeks before Warfare. Adam, you won, didn't you? You won half of it. We ended up with 36 people in Brixham, 24 in 25 mil and a dozen in 15 mil, which was remarkable given how bloody far away it is from anywhere really. But you won the 25 mil.
I did surprise. Well, not surprisingly. Of course
you won. Yeah, of course you won.
The 25 one. No, it was
the Audacians, that legendary army for the classical period that sweeps all before it.
It does sometimes. I mean, I've been thinking about why they won, because they won quite well as well. It wasn't that they didn't squeak home; they won quite well. And I think it's two things. Firstly, a few crucial combats in a couple of games went my way. They could have gone the other way, and I wouldn't have won those games. So that always does help. But my deeper reflection is, I think the way to play ADLG successfully is different to previous rules. Like in DBM, the classic army was your patrician, skirmish them out, find your opponent weak point, react, and then go to where your opponent weak point is. You can fence it out first. Whereas ADLG, I think it much more rewards, here's my plan, I'm doing this, you now have to deal with that. Because a lot of people just go, oh, geez, oh, Christ, and they can't do it. And I think the way to get victories in ADLG is to, or at least from my style of play, which seems successful, at least at Brixham, is to inflict yourself onto your opponent quickly and make them react. And then they always seem to be on the back foot.
Yeah, nothing beats a warband army appearing within 4 UD on your side of the table in turn one. It's like, you can maneuver, deal with this.
Yeah, you can really put pressure on people. And it is that thing that we always keep coming back to. Other games used to be 12 turns each, and these are about 6 or 7. So you've got to crack on and do it. Although looking at Brixham, and there were a number of draws at Brixham, but I don't know. I think there's also a thing that I thought afterwards was that I'm not even quite sure I can articulate this properly, but people, it made me realize why, not realize again or whatever, fully appreciate why people are playing. And I think there's a lot of people for whom winning is genuinely not important on, particularly on the 25 mil, ADLG circuit. And we all sit here. It's just one of these things, even going on Sean's podcast on God's Own Scale a while ago, that thing about competition players, but actually Brixham was a competition in which I would say a very big chunk of certainly the 25 mil pool were there to play toys with people they knew, and put the toys on table and have a chat and move them around and have a social game with people they knew or people they didn't, or people who were like-minded, and that's absolutely fine. And I think maybe that's one of the weird things about this whole competition game, non-competition game. I don't even think I'm articulating this particularly properly, but if everybody involved is there to play a social game, that's kind of what happens. And if that's what happens, that's brilliant, because everybody's getting what they want.
There was definitely
there's nothing inherent in the competition paradigm that stops that happening. That's maybe the key thing. So maybe we should just embrace it and go, let's be honest about this is what's going on.
It was definitely at the 25 mil, you definitely see there was quite a lot in Brixham, a lot of players for whom it was their first time playing with anybody in 2 years. At least 3 of my opponents had said, wow, I haven't played with anyone since March 2020.
Wow.
I don't care if I win or lose. I'm just loving actually seeing people again for the first time, because
my toys on table.
A couple of guys have been in various isolations or lockdowns or whatever and all that, and they just said, "I'm just happy to play toy soldiers. I couldn't care less." And so we had a great old natter. Violence was had, armies collided, but at the end of the day, it was like, it was just nice to say hi to somebody and just have a chat with someone different and have a kibitz about things.
Yeah, so I suppose there's quite a lot of wargamers who were, or a disproportionate proportion of wargamers who were in the sheltering category. So coming out of it as we were, and Brixham not being a big show or anything like that, it was just 30 of us in quite a big hall down by the seaside, kind of did work for that sort of thing. I don't know, is that your kind of thoughts? Do you see that as well, Adam?
And it might be because I didn't know a huge amount of people there. So there were some people there that I knew that I did chat to, but a few of the people that I played and they were the more relaxed end of the playing scale. I didn't really know them.
Okay.
So we chatted. But I think, and it might be that my attitude is different, because I'm quite happy to chat and play.
Yeah. No, but actually your army was of a style that couldn't do anything else other than attack. You can't dance around with that army. You know, if you're playing it in the spirit of it or in the style of it, you've just got to throw the damn thing at people, haven't you? And that's how it plays. So it's always going to do that. But you know, the other armies, which there was a lot of those Republican Romans, which are, you know, they win by a slog or getting flanks and doing all that sort of stuff. And maybe, you know, it's just a different horses for courses, really. You couldn't help but be involved in much more brutal games. Decisive games, yeah.
They were brutal and they were fun. But the other thing you said about there's nothing in the competition paradigm, and this isn't about Brixham, but more generally, where you said there's nothing in the competition paradigm that kind of stops that. No, there isn't anything that stops it, but there is quite a lot that discourages it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a time-bound game.
Yeah.
There's a scoring system. And there's a sort of, which gives a culture of that. Whereas, which I am not a particularly competitive player. But if I go to a competition, I would like to at least try and win my game.
Yeah.
Whereas for the whole sort of like relaxed, have a game and chuck dice, what we did for the week after, I think, you know, because then it's like that Cold War game of which the outcome truly didn't matter.
Yeah.
Got T-62s and Heinz on the table. So I think there isn't anything about a competition that stops that, but I think that's a competition is a less than ideal venue to do that style of game.
Yeah, maybe it kind of needs the caveat. There's nothing in a competition that stops that if both players want to do so. But in some ways, the time limit means getting a decisive result is always a balance. If you have no time limit, you would get a decisive result in every game if you could be asked to play it to the end of it.
No, that Friedrichsburg game we played in Brixham, we could have had no time limit and it would have gone on forever.
Well, yeah, because you two bloody defensive cowards.
I do think though, because I played in the 25mm in Brixham. One of the things I found, you know, it was great having all the social chats, being that, and it may have just been for 25mm, you had so many of these uber tough Roman armies. Unless you had like a Dacian where it was all about the furious charge, like I brought my Chinese army. So for me, most of these armies were a game of skill. I'm impact swordsman, they're impact swordsmen. A lot of the armies just ground to a grind and meat
grinder,
meat grinder, because the armies would just slowly grind each other. And when you're trying to beat something that's, you know, armored impact swordsman elite with support.
Yeah.
And then one opponent literally hunkered down in a corner and redeployed and reversed the army into a defensive line on the back table edge. Couldn't crack it for the love of God. Tried everything. I was in there and getting my chariots across the table from one side, one flank to the other complete flank over steep hills. It was hard going. Yeah. But, some of the armies were just very tough to crack.
I think with the changes in rules, it's a lot better to get the heavy infantry as well in. So outside of 4, you're now moving 3. So it stops that sort of like stall and falling back, stall and falling back, and you have to do like 10 moves before you can contact someone. Now it's straight away 2-3 moves you can in contact and get decisive.
So Andy, how was your Brixham?
I just asked.
Simon, well, it was.
Sorry. We're going back. We're going back to Adam.
Going back to our Simon on that, because in relation to what Tim said, there was just lots of people being chilled and eating cream cheese and having a game. And you
cream
said
cheese, not cream cheese. If that didn't come out on your audio, if anybody's interested, we weren't meeting Philadelphia. It was.
It also sounded like
Devon.
Being killed rather than being killed.
It was scones, jam, cream, clotted cream, that sort of thing. Not Philadelphia.
Yeah. The amount of draws, and I think there was quite a lot of what Tim was saying about people just being too relaxed and having a chat. Was there also a reflection of people playing in a non-overly aggressive manner as well? Did you see much of that? Because to be honest, I didn't. But it's quite hard to not play Dacians against. Not even it's hard to not play against nations defensively because so did you see much of that, Simon?
I definitely had two players who, with the Roman armies, went very defensive on me and weren't being particularly aggressive. But most people were going.
That's kind of the way you sort of have to play those small, high-quality Roman armies, isn't it? It's if the terrain doesn't fall.
Yeah, with one of the players, in fairness to him, his army tower was, I think, 18. So his only option when my army was 25 or 26, he had to go defensive because if I could have got one flank, there was going to be some medium swordsmen going to be doing some very horrible things to him very shortly. So he did what a Roman player had to do, made for a bit of a boring game. But on the other side, it made for a very tactical game where push and shoving and all that. And a couple of decent dice rolls, as you said, Adam, where if a couple of combats had gone one way or the other, we could have cracked open a flank and then life would have got very interesting. So need better shooters was the key point for my army. My crossbow.
And I think also, some of us have done half a dozen competitions already this year, whereas you're right, there were people in Brixham who haven't actually played a game at all against a real person for 2 years. So, I think all things considered, it was fab. And even though I organised it, which I say so myself, but
it was a very relaxed vibe for the whole thing.
Very, very good vibe. But I do think that that just having it really highlighted that, actually, some people are just happy to play, and as long as everybody does it, that's cool. You are genuinely meeting some different people or some old friends and shoving toys around and doing that 5 times over a weekend, and then going to a pirate pub.
Meter, though.
Sorry,
the trophy scored quite high on the ropeometer meter, though.
The ropeometer.
Yeah, they were ropey.
The what did? Sorry, the
trophies.
Oh, the trophies. Oh, God, yes. No, I really worked hard because I think there's some goppingly ugly War Games trophies handed out, definitely. So with Brixham being kind of a cheesy seaside town, I really worked hard. Well, I nipped out at lunchtime and bought some cheap old tat from a gift shop and stuck a plaque on it, which was exactly what I intended to do. So, I'm sure, how do your kids like the pirate ship that they have sat on their mantelpiece proudly?
Even my 9-year-old daughter sneered at it.
Fantastic. That's exactly what I was aiming for. I'm so happy. You've made my week now. That's definitely a result. So
this means war.
So Dave, you were the star of warfare then, weren't you? With your clever tricksy little Spanish army in the enormous 36 player 15 mil event, which strangely enough looks like it had, I think, was the first. I'm trying to look at this now. Actually, 10, 11. How many are we up to? 11. The first 11 armies that in the rankings were all different. There was feudal Spanish, samurai, feudal German, Jurchen Jin, Sicilians, Prussians and Estonians, Tuaregs, feudal Germans again, sorry, Ghaznavids, samurai, Byzantine. So a real mix there. And then some of those coming down the bottom as well. So it was a massive event. 36 is one of the biggest events I think we've seen, isn't it?
It's really surprising how well the samurai did.
Yeah.
And that's an army having painted it during lockdown, that was not an army which I wanted to use my feudal Spanish because I'm probably going to take it to Alicante if we ever get to Alicante. And I've used it at Alicante before, so that was the thinking on that. And I painted that up during lockdown. But the samurai armies, I would have thought, considering what I thought this was going to be a night fest, which to a large degree it was a night fest, you wouldn't imagine that the samurai would do that well. But
so how did that work then? Because you played them, didn't you?
Well, the final game was against. I played 2 samurai armies. I think Bob Middlemiss did very well with his samurai army.
Yeah, he was in there. Yeah,
Bob would say that he's not the most competitive player. I think that's fair on him, but he was doing very, very well with it.
Yeah,
I think I got very lucky against Bob that he didn't choose enough terrain, and against Rob, where that was the final game in the final sort of decision game. Rob chose to attack me in the mountains, which was a bit of a strange decision because he's got lots of really good medium foot bowmen. And I think that, I was very lucky on that basis. I think the very first game I got very lucky against Jesse. Jesse threw a brilliant general into combat. I killed his general. That gave me a mutual destruction. Without that combat decision, the whole competition would have been a very different result for me. That would have been a massive decision. I think Hubert would be very upset if I didn't mention how many sixes that I rolled against him, which was unfeasibly true. I loved it. But as you say, it was a really amazing mix, Interesting, the elephants were really sort of thrown out of it.
Yeah, there was almost none, were there?
It was quite interesting because I ended up playing against two sort of like camel armies as well. So with Berbers and Tuaregs. So I liked it that there was a good mix of different armies, and it's certainly influencing ideas for me for what I want to paint next year. But I was surprised, in practice and looking at different things, a few armies did quite well, which I was expecting it to be a long line of medium knights all just storming in and taking the place.
No, I was surprised at the feudal English because I picked feudal English, and I'm actually pleased that my army finished higher than all the other feudal English armies. But it was interesting how many different ways they did it. And what I thought would be a winner in that theme would be having longbows against medium knights, because then your longbows are effectively a +1 shooting at the medium knights, and I thought that would give them a big advantage, but it didn't quite work out that way. And I also had a proper medium foot command because I had the Welsh spearmen.
I think Richard got outshot by the samurai, didn't he? Richard Case.
What was it? 8 longbow?
No, they're elite bowmen, but they shredded Richard's bowmen in the open and things like that.
Yeah, I guess it can work out that way. And then, so I'm just trying to look at, so Peter, you snuck into third with a draw, a mutual destruction, then 3 victories following that way. Andy, you were in whatever that one is.
18th, I think.
17th or something like that. With defeat, a draw, a victory, and a draw. Were either of those neutrals?
One of them was my game. That was my game with Mark Dudman, which was that's not game. That's not a game I'm going to forget in a hurry.
Yeah, no, sure. And then I managed to scrape 2 wins and 3 defeats with a feudal Hungarian army that I took because it was, I think, my first lockdown painting thing, but it was tricky because it just didn't have any unique things in it. It was just kind of spearmen and knights and bowmen and light horse. So I suppose that, shoot medium cavalry bow is not a massively clever, unique thing. So and then the best one, I think, was the very final game. I played Frederick, who was over from Sweden, who came out for a curry with us on the Saturday night as well. Now, the 2 Fredericks had been trying to come over, and then one of them had failed, and they'd not played ADLG in 2 years. So he'd sent his list in for checking and asked me to. Kevin was checking all the 15 mil lists, and but he asked me to have a look at his list. So I kind of tweaked and rearranged his list, rearranged all the figures into different commands to make it work, and then completely forgot about that because I'd done it about 2 weeks before the event. And then in the final game, he kind of dished it onto table. I was like, oh shit, this is really good. It was like a much better combo than my own, and I was just completely misdeployed against it. And I think that was one of the games that I think I struggled to come second in. So so he actually finished. He only lost 14 out of 23 in that last game, and he came above Iñaki. So that was but that was a cracking thing. And there were 2 of those games where 2 of the defeats, I was 1 point away from a victory. If you see Nick Sharp, ask him about how his cavalry survived being charged in the flank by an elite knight for about 4 turns, which would have won me the game much more earlier. But just one of those things. These things do happen. So no, but it was good, even though it was difficult to get around and see the trade show. It was just good to be back and doing that one.
I found the games I played in which had a result only reached a result with about less than 5 minutes to go. The games that weren't a draw, Inaki beat me with about 3 minutes to go. I beat Daryl with 3 minutes to go, and I think the same with when I played Stephen on the Sunday morning, where it was bloody freezing.
Oh God, that was freezing that morning, wasn't it? Sunday, yeah, that was absolutely bitter. It was colder indoors than it was outside. We were all wearing hats and coats.
Absolutely,
it was really, really quite frightening.
It might be an Ascot, but there wasn't a heater.
No, there definitely wasn't. No, so and in fact, my 2 wins and 3 defeats was followed by my same performance in Brixham as well, with 3 defeats, 2 victories with the Spanish, who Sartorius. In fact, I've just finished writing up the reports, so by the time this podcast goes out, hopefully the reports will be out in the open as well. And just looking back at that, my the terrain just didn't fall for the for the Spaniards at all.
This means war.
Simon, how did let's try to think. You were mid-table with your free company, but I think you've kind of mentioned chopping up some of the pikemen. You got a victory, 2 victories, 2 defeats, and a null, which was a timed out game. So that didn't really count. But so did you? What armies did you fight in that one?
So my first game was against Don's Low Countries. So that was a great army to face against for the first round. Mediocre spearmen, mediocre pikemen versus 2-headed choppers.
Fantastic.
So match made in heaven, eh?
Oh yeah,
that's perfect for you, isn't it? Yeah.
And Don has changed his tactics, so he's worked on the new rules of, well, I can move my heavy foot very quickly. So he won the initiative, and he was at my 4 UD on turn 1. So that made life rather interesting. So we all got stuck in, and there was much violence. So that was quite enjoyable.
Yeah.
Then my second game, I met the Swiss.
And
yes. The Swiss who are elite and are Swiss did what they did historically. They came in, they gave me a damn good kicking. Still cracking game. I was only 2 points off breaking him. So one decent dice throw here or there. They had a mutual and all that, so I was quite happy with that one. Then my next game was a draw for various practical reasons, because Andy had to go do things far more important.
Yeah, with Mark. Yeah,
and the first game on Sunday was against Dave Hanley with his 100 years. Sorry, not
Chin Chen.
No, it wasn't Chin Chen. It was War of the Roses English.
All right.
So we had Foot Knights versus 2-headed choppers, and so both of us got stuck in, and there were body parts going everywhere. And he slowly eked it out on me. So that resulted in a big victory to him. And then the final game, I got to play against Burgundian Ordnance Army, which was good fun, because it's been one of those armies I've wanted to play because I like the history of them.
Yeah.
But seeing how well they fared at warfare, I can understand why that army historically got thrashed. Had all the toys, not enough of anything, and so his mediocre pikemen got involved in 2-headed choppers. That all went well. The brigands, the drunken hooligans, the medium swordsmen, managed to get their first baggage ever. So
wow.
Because my opponent deployed a waterway, and there were a couple of fields on one flank, and so he hid his baggage behind the fields, thinking no one's going to get down there because it's a heavy, it's a medieval army, so it's going to be all these heavy foot. So on one flank, 4 medium swordsmen and an elite longbow and crossbow appeared and went, "Hello, guess where we're going?" And came charging down. So we took the baggage and then proceeded to turn the flank and just walk down the side. So that was quite enjoyable. It was just good fun to play. It was 5 very, very good games.
Yeah.
Things were going to happen. And if Andy and I had our game where he had his Irish, he had this Irish army of 8 elite two-handed swordsmen come charging across the table. There was going to be violence one way or the other. So could my knights get in before he tears me to pieces? So it was just good. There were 5 very, very enjoyable games, and it was good to see lots of different armies on the table, because there's about in the 25 mil, I think we had 20 odd players, and there's probably 15 different armies.
Brilliant. No, that's good. That's a good old mix, isn't it? That's cracking. Fantastic. Well, look, I think that's done those competitions as comprehensively as is possible with a podcast with 2 winners out of 4 events on it, which is a bit weird as well. So on that shameful moment, we will take a break and then come back in a second.
This means war.
So look, we've done competitions, we've done painting. So with Christmas looming, we have actually talked a little bit about things that Santa might buy for each other and ourselves as well. But getting into the new year, suddenly there's going to be a flurry of events and, Omicron willing, a flurry of other bits and pieces to do as well. So it's looking forward to what's coming up in the first few months of the year. Now, Adam, you've actually got an event you're running in imminently in February as well, I think. What's your first couple of months looking like?
All right, yeah. Firstly, on that, because I kind of forgotten about it. So if you haven't yet signed up, Beachhead February, towards the end of February, it will be great. It's going to be a big show. There'll be lots of toys, and you can get to see just how many people play Warhammer 40K as opposed to how many people play
everything else.
So,
and this is in Bournemouth International Centre in Bournemouth.
So it's right in the central town. It's lovely. It's a lovely venue. Bournemouth's actually a nice place to be. So there's quite a few people signed up already. But if you want to come, it's a big venue. So I think we will be able to expand almost without limit. Well, for ADLG without limit, so we can take as many ADLG players.
And how many people is it? Because it looks like on the website it's nearly the ticket roster is almost exhausted. I think.
I think so. I think that's about 20.
Okay, all right.
Low 20s at the moment. But I'm not sure because, I say, it's sort of like
Beachhead organising it.
That happens at Beachhead and in Toyment, and they've been doing it. So I really need to take an interest now.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah, because that's 12th and 13th of February.
So, see, I knew that.
Yeah, there we go. It's almost like I worked in events and have done media stuff in my life before, isn't it? It's remarkable.
And it's almost like I haven't.
Christ on a bike. Who are these people? Yes.
So if you want any songs about how to count to 20, I'm your man.
You're your man, yeah. And that's post Manzikert. Is that for both big boys and small boys toys?
Yeah, so it's anything after 1071.
After 1071.
Until the end of history.
The end of history. Okay.
As is known by ADLG.
And then I think me and you are signed up to stay in a travel lodge and do Burton as well, aren't we? Which is
I am thoroughly looking forward to that.
Yeah,
I'm not mentioning Francesca at some point.
Yes, you probably should. That's the 26th, 27th, the epic Burton doubles, which is 500 AD to 999, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
So
we
proper
actually
dark
have a
age.
conversation about what we're taking as well, don't we?
We probably do, yeah. My guess is one of my armies, but I don't know what it'll be really. It could just be something dull. It could be something entertaining.
Well, I guess there's any ropey old stuff that you fancy from your collection, because I can never be asked to
draw up a list. Yeah, that's basically the way it works. That's the criteria that we're involved in on this sort of thing.
Well, Simon, that works out how we would do our army, isn't it? It's what have you got?
Right, okay. So Andy and Simon, so you're a team for Burton as well, is that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So
we teamed up about 3 years ago and we got run over by elephants.
Okay. So you thought you'd repeat that?
But we with the elephant army, we did go for the theory of let's have all of the elephants. Now, what else can we have? So we may choose a different army this time.
Okay, all right. So what other things, Simon? What other things have you got coming up in the first couple of months? Is there any painting that's been done, or is there going to be a grand reveal for ADLGR as it kind of slips out as a PDF to amend the existing rules?
Yeah, I'm hoping I can get it out before Christmas so people can have a good read of it over Christmas time, because that's a good time to read a new set of rules. And because there's museum miniatures have their 20% off sale in January.
That's the other bit of January, isn't it? That's the big January thing. That's almost more important than Christmas, isn't it? Museum miniatures 25% off sale. Yeah,
I'm always a big fan of big discounts, so they're always good fun.
Have you got an army in mind for that, or
Not at the moment for museum, because I may have got weak during a couple of months ago when I was rummaging around for ideas, and I may have been on the museum website, and I may have bought some more Egyptians for my New Kingdom Egyptian army. I was weak. I'm sorry. It was but they had chariots and they were pretty. So I bought an absolute bucket load of additional chariots and bowmen and swordsmen, all that, to give me the options to do all the Egyptian armies and all that. So
that's pre-bought then.
Yeah, and I bought because Dave was mentioning, he showed me a figure of
the kind of the Anubis god or something like that.
Yeah, the Anubis god.
Anubis, yeah.
Yeah, so I bought one of the similar style figure to do as my baggage, because a 25mm god for a New Kingdom Egyptian army just seems appropriate.
No, definitely. Yeah. So which events are you signed up to? So
obviously, Andy and I are doing Burton, which will be good fun because we always enjoy going up to up there
Coopers,
for the doubles. There may be some Coopers and a curry or two.
And then you can watch other people eating pork pies.
Yeah, it's great fun.
That's one of the highlights of Burton.
All these pork pies, and I can't touch them. It's like
you can't touch
safe
them.
here.
No.
Don't worry, I can't touch them either.
Yes, you're the pork pie free team. That's brilliant. Yeah.
The two of us will sit there with
religion and allergies. Yeah, that's it. Just
pork free. Yeah, the pork free team. That's us. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a team name for us.
No, not for us. No, that's it.
The other one I'm going to, which a few of us are going to, which will be good fun if we can get there, is Alicante in late January, 22nd and 23rd January.
Yep.
So that'll be good fun. So that's a Dark Ages, Feudal Ages, and the Americas. So good luck to anyone who brings an Aztec army to a night army.
This is in southern Spain, near a very cheap airport, so you can fly there on Sleazy Jet. And there are 50 players signed up. 50 people. Spain, France, us, a few Italians
and I think there's definitely a couple of Italians, and I think there might even be a German or two coming over as well.
Okay, brilliant.
I think there's some of the Irish there as well.
What's the chances of English people being allowed in the country then, though? Due to the Omicron. Omicron sounds like a god, by the way. Because earlier on you said Omicron willing, which sounds like a religious thing. And I think
that's true, actually. Yeah. Omicron willing, yes. Inshallah, with Omicron.
Might be facing the wrath of Omicron.
Sounds like the sort of thing from chaos in the Warhammer world, doesn't it? Really,
absolutely, yeah.
There's always chaos in the Warhammer. Yes, actually, looking at it, I can see also. Yeah, there's a few Irish, French, and I imagine Phil Hackney. It must be English, even though I don't know who he is. But perhaps he lives abroad, which is all good.
So that should be cracking.
Yeah, first overseas trip for me for. Well, other than I was on a plane this week. I did fly to Guernsey for a few days and accidentally saw some fantastic Second World War German fortifications and a whatever they're called, Martello Tower or two as well.
It looks like a submarine conning tower, didn't it?
No, they're called the Cup and Saucer Martello Towers in Guernsey. Yeah, that's what they're known as. So that's it. So that should be brilliant. Alicante. Provided we can all get on the plane and go abroad and be part of a 50-person event is just nuts.
Awesome.
Yeah. Although
I'm thinking of going to a different country in January for a competition, and that's Golden Dag in Wales.
Oh, you're Golden Dagging. Okay.
Potentially, yeah, with Paul.
Is that double? Well, obviously that's doubles then. So you're going to do doubles in January and doubles in February.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's probably a more dangerous trip to do and more arduous than going to Gatwick and flying to Spain.
Well, we all know what Cardiff's like on a Friday evening in January.
Yes. Yeah. Are you just driving in on the morning then, just to be safe?
Haven't quite sorted it out. Probably, yeah.
Right, because that's in Firestorm Carpet's brand new venue, isn't it?
Yeah, they've moved it to the arse end of nowhere rather than near town. You know.
Right. Okay.
It's not going to be within walking distance of the Wetherspoons where you can have breakfast.
Right. Okay. So it's motorway service station for you guys then. That's going to be it. Or
I think it's even more industrial wasteland than Trade Street.
Wow, my God. Well, I guess it's always with competitions in Wales. It's a question of hoping that there isn't either a home game or a rugby international or something on that just soaks up all of the hotel accommodation. Because the number of times we've been going to Cardiff.
The rugby internationals don't start till end of the month, beginning of February.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, that's a relief then, because we've been caught out by that in the past, haven't we? With no accommodation at all. Okay. And what's on your painting agenda, then, Andy, as well?
Painting agenda. It's going to be the 2 units I've ordered from Essex of 7 Years' War Prussians to finish off my the army, Clive's 7 Years' War army, and painting the motor torpedo boats from the Cruel Seas. I've got them up. They've been undercoated for months. I just haven't got around to painting them yet. And that'll just be probably sort of bit of streaky rust and some couple of shades of, not less than 50 shades of grey, but and that'll probably then do it, because I can't imagine that anyone got too anarchy about the precise colours of these things. It was they've been out in the rain at the seaside for several months. Does the engine work? Yeah, right, that'll do.
Off we go. Have you played that down the club, or is it?
I played it once.
Okay.
I kind of bought a job lot of stuff, when it first came out, and I played it once. Mike Rowlands had got all sorts of fancy stuff like a Seabull ferry and a trawler and some sort of German flag thing with hundreds of guns on it. And I thought it was okay, but nothing special. And they'd just been sitting around, so I thought I might as well paint the things. And then after that, I should probably be looking for a project. But since I've not been painting a lot recently, I'm not rushing to find a new project at the moment.
No, sure. And Dave, now you've got your new African project. Is that something that's going to stretch deep into the new year, or are you just going to so many? Are you going to like every competition there is?
Well, the one thing we've missed out on is next year we're going to try and have a southern one-day competition thing, aren't we?
True. Yeah.
I'm going to Oxford in January 15th.
Oh, you're doing that one as well. So it's the first of the Southern League, which is a one-day thing. Yeah.
Exactly. Jesse's doing that. Jordan knows going to that. Quite a few FOG players going to play.
There's a couple starting. Yeah, that's good.
That means just then, like all of us, I'm going to. that one is a biblical one, so I'll take my Egyptians, which are painted over lockdown. They've not had a run out with gods, as Simon was talking about. And then we're going to Alicante. Alicante, I feel duty bound to take my winning warfare army because I love it. It's good fun. Actually, sorry, Dave, just going back, you're not going to be able to take Egyptians to the Southern League thing because there's a list of
kind of
about 10 armies,
things, isn't it?
So it's Greco-Bactrian, Aramean, early Arab, Scythian. You can take your Scythians. I'm actually painting Scythian light horse. Well, that's good then, because you'll be taking them, I think. Yeah. So Alicante. February's Beachhead and Badcon. Yep. I think 2 competitions a month is kind of... It's probably enough, isn't it? Probably enough. Yep. Otherwise, you just don't get any time to do washing, cleaning, or life, admin, any of that stuff. Yep. You're single and you blah, blah, blah. Yep. March, then I guess March is... what's in March? We've got...
Pamplona.
Pamplona's in March, yeah. Pamplona. Wow. Pamplona. Booked a hotel for Pamplona. I haven't booked a flight yet. When's roll call? When's the challenge? Is the challenge disappeared? No, the challenge will be at UK Games Expo on the first weekend in June or last weekend. It's whatever, it's the end of May, beginning of June.
Is that the NEC?
Roll call, yeah. roll call is now confirmed for, I think, the 2nd and 3rd of April.
Yeah.
So I'm just in the process of speaking to all of the period umpires to get all the themes sorted and do the setup. I think tickets for that might go on sale in January, because it's nearly Christmas anyway, isn't it, already? I might sneak it out before Christmas, we'll see. And then BritCon is now in August in Nottingham, which is going to be fun, and that's already getting a lot of interest as well. But yeah, January, February, March is looking kind of busy.
This means war. This means war.
Tamsin, I think we've seen your prep, but tell us more about this painting challenge. And is it something that Dave should sign up to with his African army?
It's too late to sign up.
Oh, right. Okay, we're done.
All places.
We can just watch. We can just watch and amaze.
Yeah, you can paint it. You can paint alongside.
Paint along, yeah.
But it's one. This is the 12th time it's been run. I think it's my 9th time taking part.
Yeah.
It's pretty friendly, international. It's not based on quality of painting, though obviously people aim for.
Yeah, there's some competition going on there.
Like to see some improvements and so on.
Yeah.
But it's more based on what have you got that you need to get cleared up off your paint desk.
Yep.
Okay. And I think there's 90 people taking part.
Wow.
From all around the world. So we've got people in Russia. I think we've got a couple of people who are based in, 1 or 2 people based in the Far East.
Yeah.
All across Europe. Australia, New Zealand, North America, USA, Canada.
Yeah.
So what is it? Do you have to paint a certain number of figures over the period of time?
You set your own target for what you aim to paint over it. Some people it's as low as, I've seen people put as low as 100 points, which is 28 millimeter foot figures. So,
right.
But it all depends. There's also a sort of a theme round map.
Ah, okay.
Where different locations you have to paint figures that match a particular theme for that.
Okay. All right. Where can we see this? Is this going to be appearing on your blog?
Analog Hobbies Painting Challenge.
Okay.
If you go to my blog, there's a link in one of the sidebars.
Okay. All right. So we'll always over there and have a look at that then. That's good.
Yeah. So as well as painting, I'm yet again acting as one of the minions. So we help with sort of doing the scoring of the post, confirming the scoring, keeping the spreadsheet up to date and everything.
Okay. Oh wow. Well, look, that'll be something good to watch out to. Maybe that will give us a bit more impetus to crack on and get these done, because then there won't be acres of your stuff to comment on. We need to get into podcasts more regularly, otherwise we'll have to do like a special of what have you done in the painting challenge since we last all got together. So
you could do as a kind of a lose weight. You start off and say, weigh the amount of unpainted figures you've got and how many kilos or whatever of unpainted stuff have you got at the end of it, and then you've lost the weight in the sense of what you've actually painted up.
That's good.
I think as war gamers,
the trouble is they tend to acquire more than you paint.
Yeah.
Yes, I guess that's the problem.
Can you paint more than your own body weight in a month?
Yeah. So Peter, finally, kind of coming around to you, what have you got in the next few months? What are you painting? What's on the gaming agenda? What events have you signed up for so far?
Well, so far I've signed up to Alicante, so I'm looking forward to that if we get able to leave the country, as they're saying. So with 50 entries and some very interesting characters on that. I know the last time we played in Alicante was just before the last lockdown. It was literally the month before it kicked in, isn't it? So we are
days
looking
before
forward to that if it all takes place.
Didn't you guys set fire to the airport or something?
Yeah, we managed to divert, both going there and going back. So
lockdown was when I flew to Pamplona. We were in Pamplona when lockdown began, and we had to flee back to the airport and get the last flight out of Bilbao. But that's a whole different story.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. That's That's, well, hopefully we won't repeat that then. Definitely.
Yeah, looking forward to that. From Warfare, I've been influenced, and I was chatting to Simon and a couple of others about possibly doing a samurai army. I've always been put off by it's a bit too fiddly to paint, and Simon explained the just spray them red technique and then highlight them. Of course, I'm
you're
sort
all
of
over
like
that
caveating a little bit. He was a bit more technical than that, but those are the key salient points I took in. Spray them red, do some dots. Yeah.
And you just dry brush them gold on top, as that'll help, won't it?
Guaranteed. They've got to have the gold lace. I've already seen it in the British Museum, so
that's got to be done.
It's calling out to me. So for the rest of the stuff, it's just trying to organise the diary. So looking ahead of what the stuff is, I don't think I'm going to be able to do Pamplona due to family stuff. But as you say, it's trying to book in a few. So Road Call, probably Expo. And depending on sailing commitments, going along to Nottingham for that one as well in August. Looking forward to a few things going forward. It just depends on how the whole pandemic thing is panning out.
Yeah, well, I think I suppose
one question before I forget.
Go on.
I was just looking up, as you mentioned, about the museum miniatures. They do samurai as well. So
they do.
Any suggestions? Should I get museum miniatures in January for samurai, or should I go Old Glory or Essex?
Have a look at
museum ones are later period than ADLG.
Minor detail.
Minor detail.
None of us really care.
I saw my chase on Koreans really.
Yeah, I know.
So the ones for ADLGR.
I went mostly Old Glory, partly because the Eureka ones were too expensive and too far away, and the Essex ones look tiny, and the Peter Pig ones look tiny. So I got two dragons are really cool, but a very unique style, and you have to deal with Caliber books to buy them. But
Colonel Bill's got quite a few.
Oh, Colonel Bill's has got quite a few at the moment. Yeah, go on the Colonel Bill's website, see what they've got. That might sort you out.
I had a look, and he didn't actually have that many at the show at Warfare.
He
did. There was an awful lot for what you need, I thought.
But Simon, you did Old Glory, didn't you?
I did a mixture of mine. So the bulk of my army is from Eureka Miniatures in Australia, because I happened to be out there a few years ago. So while I was in Australia, I might as well pick up some toy soldiers, save on the postage. But then I bought a bunch of Old Glory to flesh out after being, I think we called it technically being thrashed at the Worlds with my samurai army.
Yep.
So I bought a few extras. And then I was on a Kickstarter where some guy was doing some slightly fantasy-esque samurai armies.
Oh, yes.
Being one of my email addresses is the Urban Bunny. There was a samurai samurai with a bunny head with big floppy ears and a great big katana. I had to buy that.
Wouldn't it?
So if you can find a badger samurai, Peter, you're a better man than any of the rest of us, or better lady as well.
There's my challenge. There's my thing now. A badger samurai army, or at least one character. Army.
There is going to be someone making them, probably in 32mm, I suspect, out of resin with a 3D printer, which is the answer, I suspect, for all the future.
And if not, just even sort of black with broad white stripes.
Broad white stripes. It'll all be good. It'll all be good. Yes. And on that moment of Peter's hair, I think we're wrapping up. So we're delighted to be able to bring you another podcast, and also delighted to keep it to a meaningful length of time without us chuttering on so much. And hopefully, when the world of wargaming podcasts, I think a few people have been persuaded to sign up to this thing called Chartable. That's like an online dashboard that tells you your stats and ratings from all sorts of different things. So currently, because we've not had a podcast in quite some time, we've been slipping down the rankings. So currently this podcast is, as of today, it's dropped 12 places and is now ranked number 213 amongst the Apple podcasts for hobbies in New Zealand. Yay! So this is the 213th most popular hobby podcast in New Zealand, down 12 places. And also the 205th, down 4 places, hobby podcast in Finland. So hopefully, as soon as James Clay downloads this and reads it and listens to it, we'll be resuming up the Finnish hobby charts yet again. And we don't feature on any other rankings whatsoever as of right now. So hopefully this will fix all that, and people won't get too bored. and then maybe we'll attempt to do another one at some point in the not too distant future. So it's on that note to say goodbye, and if we don't see you before Christmas, we'll see you after Christmas. Goodbye.
Bye. Bye.